I need to explore a real connection with him. But can we still be best friends? My girlfriend of 5 years asked, so I blocked her on everything. Now he ghosted her, and my phone is blowing up from her friends. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. It's funny the things you remember when the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, polite conversation on a Tuesday evening. I remember the smell of roasted garlic and thyme from the chicken I'd made for dinner. I remember the specific way the setting sun was hitting the living room, painting everything in a warm, orange glow that felt like a lie. I remember the exact texture of the couch fabric under my fingers as I waited for Sarah to finally say what she'd been working up to for weeks. She'd been distant, a satellite slowly drifting out of orbit. Her phone, once left face down on the coffee table, was now a permanent extension of her hand. Her laughs at my jokes were a half-second too late. And everything was about Mark. Mark from work. Funny Mark. Creative Mark. You should hear his ideas, Liam. They're so outside the box. Mark who'd just gotten out of a long relationship and really gets it. I'm not an idiot. I knew the shape of what was coming. But after 5 years, you think you know someone. You think the foundation you've built is made of stone, not sand. She sat down opposite me, not next to me. That was my first clue. She pulled her knees to her chest, a defensive, girlish posture that used to make me feel protective. Now it just made me feel cold. We need to talk, she said, her voice soft and tremulous. The classic opener. I just nodded, my throat too tight to form words. I love you, she began, and a tiny, stupid flicker of hope ignited in my chest before she immediately smothered it. I love you so much. You're my best friend. You're my person. The but hung in the air between us, monstrous and inevitable. But, she continued, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. She was crying, but the performance felt like it was for her benefit, not mine. To prove to herself how difficult and profound this all was. I feel like we've become roommates. There's no passion anymore. It's just comfortable. I said nothing. What was there to say? Yes, after half a decade, comfort is kind of the point. That's what we built. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she went on, filling my silence with her rehearsed speech. And I've been talking to Mark a lot. There it was. And it's made me realize I have needs that aren't being met. He awakens a part of me that, I don't know, it just feels dormant here. It's not your fault, she added quickly, the most insulting phrase in the English language. We just want different things. What do you want, Sarah? I asked, my voice surprisingly steady, foreign to my own ears. I need to see if this connection with him is real, she said, her eyes pleading with me to understand the magnitude of her journey. I can't live with the what if. I'd always regret it. You understand, right? This is so hard for me. The audacity was breathtaking. She was breaking my heart and asking for my empathy while doing it. So, you're leaving me. For Mark. I stated it flatly. I needed to hear her say it. It's not that simple, she insisted, crying harder now. It's not about leaving you. Not fully. What we have is too special to throw away. You're my best friend. That's why this is so impossible. She looked at me, her expression a twisted mix of grief and excitement. She was already gone, already picturing her new life, but she wanted to take a piece of me with her to make herself feel better. A security blanket, an emotional backup plan. And then she said it. The words that would forever be etched into my mind, the perfect summary of her selfishness. I need to explore this real connection with him, she said, sniffling. But can we still be us? Can we still be best friends? The silence in the room was absolute. The clock on the wall didn't tick. The fridge didn't hum. The world had stopped. My girlfriend of 5 years, the woman I thought I'd build a life with, had just confessed her emotional affair and requested a demotion to friend. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too, and she wanted me to happily hand her the fork. I looked at her, at the tears she genuinely believed made her the victim in this, and I felt something inside me shut down. The pain, the confusion, the begging words that were on the tip of my tongue, they all just vanished. They were replaced by a cold, clear, and shocking sense of clarity. She had shown me exactly who she was. She had handed me a manual on how to lose her. All I had to do was follow the instructions. I stood up. She looked up at me, expecting a fight, expecting me to bargain, to promise to be more passionate, to be more like Mark. I didn't give her any of it. I simply looked down at the woman I thought I knew and gave her exactly what she asked for. Okay, I said. The word was neutral. Final. It wasn't an agreement to her insane request. It was an acceptance of her choice. It was the sound of a door closing. Her eyes widened in confusion. This wasn't in the script. Okay, what does that mean? But I was already walking out of the room. I walked down the hall, into the bedroom, and closed the door. I stood there in the dim light, listening to the sound of her confused sobs in the living room. The world hadn't ended with a bang. It had ended with a single, calm, devastatingly simple word. Okay. The silence on the other side of the bedroom door didn't last long. It was broken by a soft knock, then her voice, thin and watery. Liam, can we please finish talking? I didn't answer. I stood in the center of the room, my mind already shifting gears. The emotional storm had passed, leaving behind a landscape of cold, hard facts. She had made her choice. My only choice now was how I responded. Begging, arguing, dissecting her twisted logic. That would all be fuel for her drama. It would make me a character in her story of self-discovery. I refused. I heard her sigh, then her footsteps retreating down the hall. A minute later, the faint sound of her phone conversation started. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was the same performative distress from earlier. She was probably already talking to Mark, getting consolation for how hard this was on her. Good. Let her be distracted. I moved with a methodical calm I didn't know I possessed. This wasn't our apartment. It was hers. I'd moved in 2 years ago. That made it simple. I took my 2 large suitcases from the top of the closet and laid them open on the bed. The process was surgical. Clothes from the dresser. Shoes from the rack. I left the hangers. Toiletries from the bathroom cabinet. I didn't raid the shared shelf. I only took what was unequivocally mine. Toothbrush, razor, cologne. I left the half-empty bottle of the shower gel she'd bought me for my birthday. I worked for an hour, my movements quiet and efficient. Each item placed in a suitcase felt like a weight lifted. This wasn't my life anymore. These were just things. The bookshelf was the hardest. Our books were intermingled. I ran my fingers along the spines, separating my history from hers. A memory flashed, unbidden. Us in a used bookstore, her laughing as she pulled a dusty, old copy of a Vonnegut novel from a shelf and handed it to me. "This is so you," she'd said. I placed it in the suitcase. The memory could stay here. I took down the framed photo from my nightstand. It was us on a hiking trip, sunburnt and grinning, arms slung around each other. For a second, the pain threatened to crack the ice I was encased in. I didn't throw it away. I simply placed it face down in the bottom of the suitcase, beneath my socks. It was evidence of a closed case, not a treasure to be cherished. When the suitcases were full, I did a final sweep. Chargers, laptop, the good headphones. My important documents were already in a file box in the closet. I zipped the bags closed. The room looked largely the same, just with gaps. Empty spaces where my life had been. It was dark outside now. The apartment was quiet. I cracked the bedroom door. The living room was empty, the TV off. Her bedroom door was closed, a sliver of light underneath. She'd probably cried herself to sleep, exhausted by her own emotional theatrics. I texted my buddy Jake. "You awake? Need a quick favor." His response was immediate. "Always. What's up? Need a lift? And maybe your couch for a night or two." "On my way." 15 minutes. I carried my suitcases and the file box to the front door, moving as silently as a ghost. I didn't write a note. What could I possibly say? "Gone. Good luck with your real connection." Any word from me would be a thread for her to pull on. I was leaving no threads. My phone buzzed. "Jake, outside." I took one last look around the apartment. The kitchen where we'd cooked together. The couch where we'd spent countless nights watching movies. It all looked like a museum exhibit of a life that was no longer mine. Then I opened the door, stepped through, and closed it behind me with a soft, final click. The night air was cool and clean. Jake's car was idling at the curb. He got out, took one look at my face and the suitcases, and didn't ask a single question. He just popped the trunk and started loading my stuff. "You good, man?" he asked once we were in the car, pulling away from the curb. "I will be," I said, and I realized it was the truth. As we turned the corner, my phone lit up. A text from Sarah. I hadn't blocked her yet. I wanted to do it all at once, from a place of calm, not in the heat of the moment. The message was exactly what I expected. I know you need space, but I'm really worried about you. Please just let me know you're okay. We can still talk about this. I still love you." It was breathtaking. She'd ended it, chosen someone else, and now she was worried about me. She wanted to manage my emotions, to keep me on the hook. I didn't respond. I opened my phone's settings. I went to her contact. I pressed block this caller. A confirmation pop-up appeared. "Are you sure you want to block this contact?" I was sure. I did the same for her Instagram, her Facebook, her Twitter. I went through my contacts and preemptively blocked her sister, Chloe, and her two closest friends. I was building a fortress of silence. By the time we got to Jake's place, she was already gone from my digital world. It was the most peaceful I'd felt in weeks. The next morning, from the temporary safety of Jake's couch, I found a new apartment. It was a small, bland one-bedroom that smelled of fresh paint and possibility. It had no history, no memories. It was perfect. I moved in a week later. The silence there was different. It wasn't the anxious silence of waiting for the other shoe to drop. It was my silence. And I started to fill it with things that were just for me. The weights clanking in the gym. The sound of a new podcast in my headphones on a long walk. The quiet focus of rearranging my books on a new shelf. I didn't wonder what she was doing. I didn't care. The first few days, my hand would still sometimes reach for my phone to tell her something funny I'd seen. But the habit quickly died. The muscle memory faded. She had asked if we could still be best friends. My answer was this silence. This complete and total absence. It was the only response her question deserved. The silence was my sanctuary. For 3 weeks, it held. I built a new routine in my sterile, new apartment. Gym, work, cooking for one. The absence of her constant notifications, the low-grade anxiety of wondering what mood she'd be in, was a relief so profound it felt like a physical weight had been lifted from my chest. The first breach came on a Saturday morning. An unknown number flashed on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, my phone notified me of the message. Against my better judgment, I listened. It was her. Her voice was shaky. Thick with tears, she wasn't faking for my benefit this time. This was raw panic. "Hey, it's me. God, I made a mistake. A huge mistake. Mark it's over. He's not who I thought he was. It was all just words. Can you please call me? I really need to talk to you. I need my best friend." The message ended with a muffled sob. A cold, hard satisfaction settled in my gut. Not joy, not schadenfreude. It was the simple, quiet validation of being proven right. The real connection had lasted less than a month. I deleted the voicemail and blocked the new number. The silence held for 4 more days. Then, the emails started. The first one was from her sister, Chloe. The subject line, "We need to talk about Sarah." I almost deleted it unread. But a morbid curiosity got the better of me. "Liam, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm seriously worried about my sister. She's a mess. She's not eating. She's crying all the time." This thing with Mark blew up in her face. Apparently, he was just using her to make his ex jealous or something. Pretty pathetic. Anyway, she's devastated. And I know what she did was shitty, but are you really going to abandon her after 5 years over one little mistake? She loves you. She's realized that now. She's learned her lesson the hard way. The least you can do is talk to her. Just a conversation. She's your best friend, for God's sake. Don't be so cruel. Chloe, the audacity was breathtaking. One little mistake. Not a calculated, emotional affair followed by a cruel dismissal. Don't be so cruel. As if my refusal to be her emotional punching bag was the true crime here. I didn't reply. I marked it as spam and felt nothing. The next evening, I was unpacking the last of my boxes when my buzzer rang. My heart jumped, a stupid, conditioned response. I walked over to the intercom screen. It was her. She looked terrible. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her face was pale and blotchy, and she was wearing the same hoodie I'd seen her in 100 times. She looked small and lost. The old part of me, the part that had been programmed to care for her, twinged for a second. Then I remembered her words. "Can we still be best friends?" I pressed the talk button. "Yes." Her head jerked up, searching for the speaker. "Liam, it's me. Can I please come up? Just for a minute?" "No," I said, my voice flat. "You can't. Please," she begged, her voice cracking. "I just need to talk to you. I made a mistake. A huge, huge mistake." She was crying now, proper tears streaming down her face. "He ghosted me, Liam. After everything he said, he just stopped replying. He told everyone at work we were just friends. He used me. I said nothing. I just watched her on the little grainy screen, a tragic figure in the dim hallway light. I was stupid. I was confused. He meant nothing, she pleaded into the intercom, her voice echoing slightly in the empty stairwell. It was always you. You're my best friend. You have to forgive me. You have to. I don't know what to do without you. There it was. The core of her entitlement. You have to. Because her comfort, her emotional stability, was my responsibility, even after she'd thrown me away. Sarah, I said, my tone even, devoid of any anger or sympathy. It was the tone you'd used to state the time. You ended our relationship. You made your choice. This is the consequence. I didn't choose this, she wailed. I chose wrong. Don't you get it? I regret it. I'm here, aren't I? I'm telling you I want you. The decision is made, I said. This isn't a conversation. You should go home. I saw her face crumple on the screen. The pleading turned to something else. A flash of anger. So that's it. After 5 years? You're just going to leave me like this? When I need you the most? I didn't answer. I simply released the talk button and walked away from the intercom. I stood in the center of my quiet, clean apartment and listened. A minute later, I heard the distant sound of the main door slamming shut. The silence returned. It felt stronger than before. Her anger arrived, as I knew it would, via text. A new number. The message was long and venomous, a masterpiece of projection. Fine. Be a childish asshole. I see who you really are now. I was right to leave. You were always a coward who couldn't handle real emotion. You're cold and empty, and you never truly loved me, or you wouldn't be able to shut me out like this. I'm glad I found out what you're really made of before we wasted more time. I'm better off without your pathetic, safe little world. I hope you enjoy your miserable, quiet life. I read it standing in my kitchen, drinking a glass of water. A year ago, those words would have eviscerated me. They would have sent me into a spiral of self-doubt. Now, they just were. They were noise. They were the final, furious thrashing of someone who had finally realized the door was locked and I had thrown away the key. But she was wrong. I wasn't empty. I was full of my own peace. And I wasn't a coward. Walking away without a fight had been the hardest, strongest thing I'd ever done. Her message didn't deserve a response. But I realized I had one final thing to say. Not for her. For me. To close the book forever. I unblocked her original number. I typed out a message, my fingers calm and steady. I didn't write from a place of hurt or anger. I wrote from a place of fact. Sarah, I learned everything I needed to know about love from you. Specifically, I learned what it isn't. You asked for a friend, but friends don't demote each other to second place. I've built a life now where my peace is non-negotiable. That doesn't include you. Do not contact me again. I read it over once. It was firm. It was definitive. It focused on my growth and my new life. It showed her she was irrelevant to my happiness. It was the truth. I pressed send. I watched the message show as delivered. Then I went back into her contact. I pressed block this caller again. Are you sure you want to block this contact? I was sure. I put my phone down and finished my water. I looked out the window of my apartment at the city lights starting to come on. The silence in the room was no longer just an absence of sound. It was a presence. It was mine. I had given her 5 years of my life. I had given her my loyalty, my comfort, my friendship. And in the end, she had given me the most valuable gift of all, the clarity to walk away and the peace to never look back. She was now a lesson I had learned, a chapter one had closed, and I was finally free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.